So I'm Laurence Johns, and I'm here because we've decided to open up and kind of capture the creative process of creating I Am John, the movie, the feature film. Who are you?
Tony Wise. And yeah, we're here to try and give some sort of insight into our ways of working around being creative within making this film and some of the issues that we're finding personally, and see if we can't work through them together and with the audience that's watching, and maybe they can come up with some suggestions for us that might even help us out. I know I've had a conversation with you before about Jamie Cato, one of the members from Faithless, and you talk a lot about him in terms of greenlighting projects and how you sort of have to allow yourself to do that, sort of almost give yourself permission. And I know for a long time we ummed and ahed about whether we was going to make this film or not. So how important do you think it is to give yourself them green lights, and how do you get into a space where you do say, you know what, I'm going to do it with all the other demands of life?
Yeah, I mean, that's the... So just to get a bit of context, so I've known Jamie a long, long time now, and I've been to most of the workshops that he runs. The first one I went to was one called What About You?
Right.
And that's a two-day workshop.
Uh-huh.
And I went to it because I kind of knew him and all of that, and of him and him a bit. And it was purely about creativity, really.
Yeah.
And a two-day workshop, and the final day was about green lighting.
Right.
And I mean, I guess most people know what green lighting a project is, but that's when someone comes up to you and says, right, go.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you're writing a script or you get a film in production, someone will come, they'll underwrite the money and they say, right, it's green lit. And what I really liked about Jamie's course and Jamie's approach was that you just green light it.
Right.
Just green light it yourself.
Yeah.
And you say, kind of, you come from a place of like, I don't know how, right? And maybe it won't come out exactly as I intend it,
mm-hmm.
but the project is going ahead.
Yeah.
It's going ahead and it's going to happen. And there's something very, there was something that, I mean, like any workshop that I've been on, or any sort of personal development, any book that I've read around any subject, and that's numerous, is it's often just a simple idea that is effective.
Yeah.
You know, and in a way it could be, and in a way it's kind of blaringly obvious too. You know, most of the good ideas are blaringly obvious. You know, and I think that's how good ideas work. You know, like every great tune you hear, you think, how come no one thought that tune before? Or like, I feel like I've always known that.
Yeah.
Because it's simple. You know, I remember hearing about a thing with Paul McCartney, and he said that he woke up and he was the song Yesterday. He was like, yesterday, my troubles seem so far away. And for months he was walking around saying to people, have you heard that song? Have you ever heard this song before?
Because he thought he'd heard it. He thought he hadn't come up with it. Yeah.
He thought he hadn't come up with it because it was so simple. It's like, you know, such a simple chord sequence. And so that was what I got from that course, really. I mean, I got lots of stuff from that course, a really good course. I recommend it. But the bit that I walked away with that was blaringly obvious, and because I've done it, you know, we greenlit a project, a feature film that we made years ago.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, and for those that don't know, sort of going back to what, 2001, 2002?
Around that time, yeah. Around
that time, we got together with a few other people, and we made a full-length feature film, sort of basically on nothing, wasn't it, really? On blood, sweat and tears, more or less.
And credit cards. Blood, sweat, tears, credit. Some of them are
credit cards. Some of our own. Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, like Plato says, all learning is just re-remembering. And when I went to Jamie's course, it was re-remembering. You know,
Yes.
what he was saying was what I'd already done years ago.
Yeah.
Which was, you know, what you're waiting around for. Like you're the one who's going to make it happen. Like just get the project now. Project you've always wanted to do. The one that's got your attention, look at it and go, it's happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, and some of the other stuff he talked about, which is stuff that we know from before, and that most people who've been involved in creative processes do, that it's only once you go, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Just stuff starts to happen. Suddenly people appear. Someone turns up and says, oh, yeah, like, oh, I'm doing this. You know, it's like, and Jamie had this great thing where he said, like, the universe is full of waiters, right, full of butlers, and they want to give you everything you ever want. They want to give you all the help you want. Well, he said, the problem is they're dead. Which was like, but he said, you can't talk about what you're going to do. They have to see you doing it. Yeah, and I guess why I'm sort of thinking about that again, and why I'm sort of thinking about, you know, why I was mentioning Jamie to you before, it's like, it is that thing of relearning.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many times I've had to learn the same lesson.
Yeah. Of course.
And often, like, I'll go and I'll go, oh, it's that, isn't it? I know it's that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I've been with this for a while. It's like, you know, where I think we've been with this project for a while. It's like, when's the time going to be right? How's this going to work? What's our plan? It's all that. Rather than, we know that we can just greenlight it and make this happen somehow.
Yes.
Because we did it before.
Yeah.
And when we done it before, like, we was in our 20s.
Yeah.
And had even less resources and even less technology at our disposal than we do now.
Yeah. Although that does bring up an interesting thing for me in terms of that is all true, but for other people that are still struggling with, how do I do this with a family, and how do I do this with a full-time job, and all these other factors that at the beginning were factors for us. You know, for a long time we didn't greenlight this film. For a long time we were trying to safety net stuff, put other things in place, try and get finances in a certain area, blah blah blah, and it was always the fear, wasn't it, of, oh, am I going to have the time? You know, I feel guilty by plunging into this and not having enough time for the kids or the family and the missus and all these other things and all these factors that actually stopped us from doing it. And like, so for other people that are feeling like that, like, what do you think was the change for us? Like, what actually changed, and how did we get into a point in greenlighting it? And more specifically, and the reason I'm asking you and not sort of answering that myself is I'm interested in how your perspective of coming from like men's work and men's personal development, like how important do you think it is to give yourself that in your life? Like, you know, how much of a factor does that come in on that side of things?
I mean, I've had to think about this a lot, and it's a really good question. And there's to it, I think. One is, of course, you sit there and you think. So when I said we had all the resources, that was a lie. Actually, we had one more resource when we was 20 that we don't have now. We had time.
We had time. Yeah,
we had time.
And that's the part that interests me the most with this, and I think that's the part that would interest most people.
Yeah, we could work till 4 a.m. if we wanted to, and we often did.
And we often did, yeah.
And go out afterwards.
Yes, 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 plenty of times. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's the beauty of being that age.
Yeah.
But like...
So for those of you that are live streaming this, we're just having technical difficulties because Laurence is too cheap to pay for proper broadband.
So what we're talking about is we're talking about how, you know, how we deal with time on one level, having much less time making a feature film this time round than when we were 20, you know. Probably got more money, but we've got less time. You know, there's that balance on one hand. And then the other question that I think that you asked, which I think is more interesting on a sort of development idea, you know, is that, like, how do you justify that? How do you justify giving yourself something like, I'm going to take the extra resources I have and this valuable and scarce commodity of time, and I'm going to take it away from the family, away from the children, and make this film on top of my other job. And like, it did take a long time for me to kind of work that out, because I thought, this ain't, you know, is this right? Is this the right thing to do? Especially with no guarantee of financial success or any of that sort of stuff. It's like, is it the right thing to do? And there's two things there. There's like, one is that if you're doing anything for the money, it probably ain't going to work. Right? It's probably not going to work. Not in a creative field, anyway.
Not in a creative space,
Not in a creative space. That's the wrong reasons to be doing it. Especially the type of thing that we're doing. But the other thing is, and I think this is like relevant for anyone who's a parent, right? Is like, I think about my son, and I've got a son, so he's a boy and I'm a man, and so like, there's that father-son relationship, you know, and I'm kind of looking at that and thinking, well, yes, you know, yes, he needs my time. Right? When he's growing up. Yes, he needs a certain amount of financial stability and support, right? So he needs all that. And it's me and his mum's responsibility to provide that. Right? Fact. But there's another element there too, which I came across, where I thought, you know what, I also have a responsibility to show him what a life well lived looks like. You know what I mean? Like, I have a responsibility to show him that don't believe the limitations that people set upon you, and don't believe that you've got to just chase the money, and don't believe that you can't play, and don't believe that you can't be creative. Because if I weren't living that to him, all the times when I say that to him, going back to that idea of deaf butlers, you know, like, all the times I say that to him, all the times when I'm on a podcast talking about men's personal development somewhere, I'm chatting bullshit. I'm just lying. Because if I'm not willing to take the risk to experience a life that's well lived, and if I'm not willing to show up and do that, if I'm not willing to demonstrate to him as my son, the one person that I should be demonstrating how to live to, what right have I got to talk about it to anyone else?
Absolutely. I think that was a big factor. That was a big factor for me, I think, in terms of showing my kids my interest and showing them the skills that I've built up, and letting them see firsthand. The computers do other things, you know. For me, it's a tool. You know, it's a creative tool for me, and being able to share that with them, being able to, you know, I don't have a lot of space, so having to sit in the living room and they're by the side and they're seeing it and they're interested and they're asking questions and they want to pick up the camera and they want to touch the computer and they want to do X, Y, and Z. You know, for me, there was like a, you know, that passing on of skills, that passing on of knowledge, that passing on of enjoyment. You know, seeing their dad actually enjoy doing something rather than, oh, I've got to do this for work, or I've got to do this for pay. Do you know what I mean? Like, actually seeing me with a smile on my face doing something I enjoy. You know, a lot of that came into it for me when it was like that time where we were sort of, are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? You know, and thinking about stuff like that for me really made it a lot easier for me to make that leap and go, bang, this is this is what we need to do. We are going to do this. But sort of following on from that, how important is showing your creative side or bringing your creative side to the forefront as men or as humans? Do you believe that is for our well-being? Like, how much do you think not bringing out your creative side sort of has a negative impact on you versus bringing out your creative side, and how much of a positive impact that might have on you? Like in your line in men's personal development and all the men that you've spoken to over the years, have you seen a direct correlation between the men that really express their creativity versus the men that maybe suppress that for whatever reason?
It's hard to speak for all men.
Of course.
You know, it's really hard. Right. I can speak for me.
Okay.
And, you know, and I know that I've often gone through bouts of depression.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big major factors when I do is that I haven't found a way to express myself creatively.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the big unanswered questions in my life. It's one of the big things that isn't there. Is I've facilitated a lot of other people to be very creative,
yeah,
and to do great things. But I've never really taken the plunge and expressed myself creatively, even though that's how I identify myself.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I identify myself as a creative, but I've always put it on the back burner because of like the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
Getting some stability, making a career, and then I'll get back to it and making it, you know, and bringing it back to like family and kids. It's like, what, you know, I really believe that you have to treat yourself as someone you love.
Yes.
Right. And that means giving yourself the same advice.
Yeah. Well, not just giving it, but taking it.
And taking it. And if my son came to me and said, listen, like, son, like, you know, Dad, I know that inside me is this burning thing that I really want to do. Right. But it don't feel like the right time to do it. And, you know, it don't feel like the time to do it. Maybe I should spend some time doing other stuff and all that. At 20 or whatever, I'd go, mate, don't even worry about the other stuff. Just go and do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Go and do it. And then, you know, at 30, 40, I might go, listen, you need to put a few precautions in place. You can't just completely roll the dice. But if you really think you're going to be miserable unless you do it, go and do it.
Yeah.
You'll always be all right. You'll always be all right.
Something
will always work out.
Yeah.
And so I have to take that advice for myself.
Yeah. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
It's really hard.
There's no getting away from it.
It's you know, in a way, like you look at it and you think, is this, you know, have I gone mad? Am I doing, have I lost it? Am I just doing something that's ridiculous? Yeah. But like, it's the ridiculous things that make life great. Yes. We only get one go. The matter is, we get one go. We're going to die. We're going to die. Like we've well been over half. We're well over half. Yeah. Speak for yourself. Like, yeah. Like, I mean, you're well over half. But like, you know, like what? I'm 47. Do you know what I mean? If I get another 40 years, bloody hell, I've done. You know? Like,
yeah. And you've got to factor in what the quality of them 40 years might be coming towards the end of them 40 years, isn't you? Like the physical, you know, the actual things that we can't do, you know, the physicalities, the difference in changes, you know, we don't know what we can do further down the line, but we know what we can do now. Yeah. You know, we can do this now.
I put up years ago when I was about to start skateboarding again, I put something out on Facebook. And I put, am I too old to start skateboarding again? Right. Yeah. And I think I was just about to turn 40. Yeah. Right. And there's all the usual stuff of, granddad and all of that sort of stuff. Right. Yeah. But a good friend of mine, Paul Hawkes, and another MKP man, he said something I thought was brilliant. He said, you might be too old. He said, at 40, you might be too old. He said, but then if you might be too old at 40, you're definitely going to be too old at 50.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But then maybe you're not. Maybe 60 is too old, and 50 was the perfect age.
Yeah.
Do it. And that's something that I've really resonated with in life, is that life, if you allow it, plays tricks on me anyway. Whereas I remember thinking at 20, like, man, I need to get up skating, right? When I see 20-year-olds now, they look like babies.
Yeah.
They look like a child still. But I thought I was getting too old now. I've got to do some serious things now. Yeah. I've got. And I think that's life, like that Bob Dylan line comes to mind. Like, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. I realise as I get older that actually none of that matters.
No.
I am the age I am right now.
Yes.
That's what I am. So every age I am is the best possible age I could be. Yeah. Because it's the only one I am. I've got no choice with that. So, and even that in terms of your kids and all of that, in terms of kids, like, I'd love to show him that nearly 50, you can go out and make a feature film if you want. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Why not? That I'd much rather be that person than, oh, do you know what? He never really done what he wanted to do because he was trying to make things safe.
And I know it's cliche, but you don't want to regret the things you didn't do, because that's just the worst. That's just the worst.
And like, if we just sort of, I don't mean physically pause this video, but if we just pause for a second, right, and take a view out, if certain people were listening to us, they'd be thinking, listen to these overprivileged pricks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Talking. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we can even have a conversation about, shall we go and make this feature film?
We've obviously got too much time and money on our hands.
Man, do you know what I mean? It's there's people in the world, there's people in the borough that we're in, who really, really, really do not have that luxury. All that bullshit about like anyone can make it happen and all that. There's a boy living down the road who's made to sleep in the cupboard every night. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's the truth. There are some people you can't manifest and positive think your way out of everything. No. Well, I mean, you can, but it's going to take you a longer stretch. There are people who there's a number's been done on them, and they don't have the luxury. They are literally thinking, do you know what? I've got 2 jobs, and I still don't have enough money to feed my family and kids. Yeah. Still having to get on a delivery, finish with 2 jobs and jump on a delivery bike. You know what I mean? So we can't lose sight of how privileged we are. And yes, it means we're going to have to give up some stuff. And yes, it means we're going to struggle. I don't know how we're going to get the money to make the film. I ain't got a clue. No. I've greenlighted it. I certainly don't.
But it's not important to worry about. I think that is a key takeaway from this is that we gave up worrying about the how, because that's one of the big blocks. You've got to give up the how. It's like you've just got to decide you're going to do it and work it out as you go along, because you can't. If you try and plan your way from point A to point B, all you'll ever do is plan, because the plan will never be right. You'll say no, but this obstacle, that obstacle. You've got to forget. You've almost got to forget the how, and you've got to jump in 2 feet, get into it, and work out the how as it goes. And like you said about the deaf butlers, it's like, it's amazing how, and this has happened so many times in my life, from doing all the early stuff, all the early filming, all the music videos and making a film with you. Like, even you, like, we were never destined to meet again after school and after college. No. Like, but you having written a script and me having been involved in a studio, all of a sudden we collided again. Then Butlers went, hello, used to know each other, used to have got reason to be together. Do you know what I mean? And like it happens every single time. Like, you know,
every time.
Left uni, didn't know what I was going to do. Another mate said, look, I want to get involved in this. I said, boom, I'm jumping on that with you. And all of a sudden people wanted to come and make music videos with us just because we said it. We didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything to show. We hadn't made anything before, like, you know, done a bit at uni and a bit at college, like, you know, media studies, but nothing that was like, you know, been to film school and got this whole reel behind me or anything, you know, but you started on that path. And
no, you're right. I mean,
but this is it. This is it. And it's
put it out into the world.
And things start to change, and you start, and the how starts to come. The how starts to come. It becomes, things start to come into place, you know? And you're right about we can't deny how much privilege we have, but at the same time, I don't want people out there thinking that you need to have the privilege to do this, because when we say we're privileged, like, you know, we're not sitting on bundles of cash, and that's the reason we've got our time. Like,
yeah.
We still work 9 to 5s, you know, we still work 9 to 5s. We're doing this work in 9 to 5s. We're not doing this in a full-time capacity. And yet we're still saying it's possible for you to do it. And that's the takeaway that I want people to get from this, is that you don't have to have everything perfectly in place to be able to green light something, you know? No. If it's a desire of yours, you can green light it, you know? And you can get on with it, and you can work the how out, and maybe it's a thing where you have to nick 2 hours a night, and you work on it, you chip away at it, you know, and maybe that's how you have to do it. But don't not do it because you're gonna see all these obstacles, you know, because that's the thing that then you end up driving yourself mad. For years, I drove myself mad when I sort of stepped away from that creative field, like, after having done it so long and made so many videos and the film with you and blah, 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 and then sort of doing nothing, like, there was always something missing. You know, there wasn't, you know, the family, the kids, that's all fulfilling, but that's that. Do you know what I mean? That's all great in that sphere. Do you know what I mean? That's fine. Like, I'm very lucky in that sense. I've got, you know, I enjoy all that, and I think, you know, my family life is great, and I'm happy with it. But there's that other part, you know, that other part that's that holistic thing of me, like the whole of me is not complete without having this other bit.
And that little part, so many men have that little part, and it's not always a creative thing.
No, it can be anything.
We all have that thing we dance around.
Yeah.
That interests us, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that little thing will eat you alive.
Yes.
If you don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
You know, that little thing, for me anyway, that little thing will eat me alive.
Yeah.
If I don't do something with it. Because it's just that nagging sense of doubt.
Yeah. In
the back of the head the whole time that says, you ain't done that, have you?
Yeah.
You ain't done that. And there's a saying that I really love, and it comes from a book, and I've not read the book, but someone just told me the saying, which I really love, which is just like, don't die with your best music inside you, you know? And I think that, like, that, to me, that's what it is. It's like, whether I'm thinking about, you know, stories have always been whether it's books, whether it's scripts, whether it's stories have always been my thing. And like, I'm in danger of dying with my best music inside me, with those stories inside me. And never a way to get them out. You know, and to me, I just think that's what this is. This is what I Am John is to me. It's like, it's getting one of those pieces of music out and combining it with my other great passion in life, which is men's personal development work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect marriage for me.
Yeah.
To bring those two things together.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, listen, I know you've got to get off for one, so we'll leave that there, I guess.
All right, cool.
And yeah, so I hope this has been interesting for people and you got something out of it. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, take care, dude.